Okay, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably noticed that the trend of quiet luxury is exploding. So let's talk today about some watches that fit this trend and then others that don't. I want to be clear also when I say that a lot of these watches are out of my price range and I don't own most of them. So this is definitely not a review of any particular watch that I mention. I'm simply talking about the watches that I find interesting, and I'm sharing my opinions on them. Make your own decision as to whether or not they are worth your money. With that being said, I'm going to divide this video into two parts. The first of which is going to be quiet luxury. So let's begin. Now, regarding this list, I wanted to make sure that all of the watches that are inside of it fit certain criteria. So the first one is that they need to be generally simple in design. They have to be high quality. They cannot be overly blinged out or excessively gem set. And there should not be any wild or ostentatious complications on display. And lastly, I tried to stick to luxury watch brands for this entire video, as per the name. So all of these are going to be very expensive watches. None of these are cheap or affordable relatively. So in the future, I'll probably do a version of this video where I discuss more affordable options, but that's not what we're talking about today. The first watch that fits the bill of quiet luxury is going to be the Cartier Santos. This is a watch with a very classic design. It's got a very strong heritage, having been one of the first pilot watches, and by extension also one of the first true tool watches in general. Tim Masso from Watchbox breaks down this watch's history much better than I can, and I would recommend that anybody who's interested in this watch would go check out that video as well. This has got a clean, uncomplicated aesthetic with a beautiful dial in wonderful shades of white, green, and blue, and Roman numeral indexes. This is also just a fairly dressy looking timepiece that feels more at home in a suit now than shorts and sneakers, or even a pilot's jumpsuit. But it's still versatile enough for both casual and formal wear, as well as everything in between. The second watch that falls into the category of quiet luxury is the Rolex Daytona 126300, specifically the smooth bezel oyster bracelet variant. Datejust are one of the most customizable watches in Rolex's catalog, so there are a lot of entries out there, but in terms of this video and classifying, what is quiet luxury, this smooth bezel oyster bracelet variant kind of just, it's the most fitting in my opinion. It's just got that clean classic look that is not screaming for attention, despite being from one of the most well-known watch brands in the entire world. This watch has 70 hours of power reserve, 100 meters of water resistance, anti-magnetic properties, Paraflex shock absorbers, which are standard across the entire Rolex range, and that makes this a properly durable watch suitable for everyday wear. And after decades of wearing this watch every single day, it's going to be the one that you pass on to the next generation, as long as you take care of it. The only place that this watch cannot be taken is into a tactical situation. It is not immediately noticeable. Oh my gosh. It's not immediately noticeable from a distance, except to people who know watches. I've worn mine several times without it getting noticed until people look up close and realize it's Rolex. And to me, this watch says, I know what I'm worth and I don't need to prove it to anybody. This watch gets a bit less quiet, unfortunately, when you throw on things like a fluted bezel or a Jubilee bracelet, or a diamond set dial, due to those things being very signature Rolex designs. As soon as you see a fluted bezel or a Jubilee, that's like instantly, oh, that's a Rolex. People see that design element and if they know anything about watches, then they immediately associate that with Rolex. But regardless of that, most simple permutations of this watch can go unnoticed in the public. And just to further solidify this watch as an example of a quiet luxury watch, Roman Roy from HBO's Succession is commonly seen throughout the entire series in all 4 seasons wearing a silver dialed variant of this watch on an oyster bracelet. The third watch on the quiet luxury list is going to be another Rolex, and it's the Explorer 2. This is one of my favorite watches, so I'm very biased by including it, but this is also my list, so I do what I want. I've never been asked about my Explorer 2, except by other watch enthusiasts, and frankly, I prefer it that way. The thing is, the prominence of the Submariner, the GMT Master 2, and the Daytona overshadow this watch in terms of popularity, but that does not take away from the Explorer 2 in terms of practicality. This watch is unlike other entries on the list This watch is unlike other entries on the list, which derive their beauty from carefully chosen design elements. Everything that makes this watch beautiful, however, is a feature that is more focused on function than form. The orange 24-hour GMT hand adds a lot of legibility to the watch. It doesn't just make it look cool, it's there for a reason. The solid stainless steel fixed bezel lends durability by reducing the amount of moving parts on the case. And the all stainless steel construction solidifies the fact that this is a tool watch first and a statement piece second. This is arguably one of the most casual watches on this list because it feels more at home in hiking gear or tactical gear than a suit, but it works in all 3 situations and more. And you can wear this watch very casually. I go out with mine wearing, my t-shirt and shorts and sandals all the time. And part of the reason that works is because I live in Hawaii. But it fits. It's very versatile, is what I'm trying to say here. I personally cannot recommend this watch enough. Every reference from the 1655 original, if you can find one, all the way to the modern 226570 is worth having, in my opinion. The next watch on this list is going to be the Vacheron Constantin Patrimony. Almost any Vacheron Constantin could be put into this list, but this spot goes to what is generally accepted as the entry-level model in their lineup, and this is the ultimate dress watch. This watch is manually wound. It's not something you just thoughtlessly slap on your wrist like a G-Shock or something. You have to interact with a manually wound watch in order to keep it alive, and I think that contributes to the beauty of experiencing this timepiece. Each model variant comes on a leather strap requiring care and maintenance, and unlike the previous 2 entries, you can't beat this watch around, nor would you want to either. It's the one that you want to be gentle with because you respect it so dearly. And the Patrimony has a simple time-only dial, with some models even lacking something as rudimentary as a seconds hand. But I think that only adds to the class of this watch. Every model is made from precious metal, so yellow, white, or rose gold. And this watch demands to be worn in black tie because it's just so clean and so handsome. James Bond would envy you if he saw you wearing this. Okay, the final entry on the list for quiet luxury is going to be the Crador G BBY 979 Gold Feather. For those who don't know, Crador is a subsidiary of the Seiko Time Corporation, and it's basically like Grand Seiko on trend. That's the simplest way that I can explain this. For 5.5 million yen, or $36,903 at the time of filming, this watch epitomizes quiet luxury by being one of the most expensive on this list, while also being the most low-key. Only those who know intimately Seiko's corporate structure, or who are intimately familiar with Crador as a brand, would recognize this for what it is. This watch is 950 platinum on a black crocodile leather strap. It has a heat engraved spiral dial and heat blued hands. The exhibition case back reveals a gorgeously finished movement with a large gold feather laid upon top, hence the name of the watch. And like the Patrimony, this is a paragon among dress watches, except it comes from an even more niche brand. Again, unless you know Seiko's corporate structure, you may not be very familiar with Crador. But if you love Japanese craftsmanship, this watch is at the very least worth looking at and admiring. Now, onto the fun stuff. The philosophy for this loud luxury list, if you will, is that it's not in any particular order. This is not going from, least loud to most loud or anything like that. This is just a compilation of 5 watches that I thought epitomize this ideal. These watches are the complete opposite end of the spectrum from quiet luxury. They are highly ostentatious or recognizable in their design. They are also expensive. No complication is off limits, and there are no niche brands in this list. The very first entry on this list is not so much a single watch, more a brand entirely, and this is the easy target here. If you haven't guessed it by now, it's Hublot. Basically, all of Hublot's catalog is super loud luxury. There is pretty much nothing in Hublot's catalog that could be classified as quiet luxury. Just by virtue of their design, they are super, super loud. I don't know how many times I can overstate this. I don't know how many times I can say that. But yeah, Hublot watches aren't necessarily bad, but they're in no way understated. The original classic Fusion is still highly recognizable. People won't know exactly what the classic Fusion is. Like if you see that on my wrist, you may not know exactly what line that is, but you'll know it's a Hublot. They'll know also that you're trying to make a statement by wearing that watch. I strongly believe in wearing whatever you like, but if you're choosing to wear such a controversial, and expensive brand, that will get you noticed, and just expect the reaction to be a bit mixed depending on who's around. If you want to make a big statement though, this brand might actually be for you. Okay, the second watch on the loud luxury list is going to be the Ulysse Nardin Freak. Calling this timepiece unique really does not do it justice. It's hard to know where to even begin with this watch because it's just so freaking crazy. A watch with a tourbillon-equipped movement also serving as the hands is simply unprecedented in the industry. Many watches in this collection are tens of thousands of dollars, and the Freak X itself is priced on request only due to the materials being used in it, as well as the level of horological engineering at play. I'm not even the biggest fan of this watch I'm not even the biggest fan of this watch aesthetically, but if I saw one in person, I'd probably ask to take a closer look, simply because it is just so intriguing as a design. This watch demands to be noticed. You will, like the Hublot, you will get noticed if you wear this watch out in public. People will probably ask you what it is. Even if they don't like it, or regardless of their feelings, they're going to ask you about it. In my opinion, it just has enough going on to make everyone around turn their head towards you. Okay, this is like take 5 of this entry because I don't know why I just keep messing this one up. But there is just no way that you can mention loud luxury or talk about loud luxury watches without mentioning the entire brand of Richard Mille. The words conservative, understated, subtle, and timeless simply do not exist in the vocabulary of Richard Mille's design team. Every single one of these watches is loud, proud, exotic, and avant-garde. And they push the technological and financial boundaries of watchmaking that few other brands would dare to cross. Basically, if you want one of these watches, you need to be really, 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 really rich, and you need to have lots of FU money at your disposal. This brand is heavily propped up by its status among celebrities, and wearing one of these watches is akin to basically staking your claim in the 1% club. After all, Kendall Roy from Succession wears one of these in season 4. Pharrell Williams, who often is seen wearing Richard Milles in public, collaborated with RM to design the RM5205, a manual winding tourbillon with an astronaut's helmet on the dial. This is an absolutely crazy out there design. And the manually wound RM055 is famous for its association with golf champion Bubba Watson. As a personal example, I spotted an RM701 on a tourist's wrist by accident once, simply because of just how ostentatious of a design it was. And just to give you some perspective as to, how crazy it is, like I was on the other side of a bar. I was on the other side of a bar, just minding my own business, and then I happened to glance over and see that watch on that person's wrist. And I wasn't even, I didn't even mean to see it. It just caught my eye. It was crazy. Beautiful watch though. You could be at a watch meetup, hanging out at the mall, at a black tie affair, yachting, or doing any number of things that I imagine rich people do, and you'll pretty much never come across a situation where your Richard Mille does not get noticed. Okay, so for the quiet luxury list, I mentioned 2 Rolex references, but I would be ignoring reality if I didn't include a Rolex on the loud luxury list as well. And I contemplated adding the GMT Master 2 to this list, but depending on the reference number and the configuration, those can actually go under the radar as well. A 1675 GMT Master 2, a 1675 GMT Master, for example, with a ghost bezel on a NATO strap, doesn't really stand out to a regular person as much as you would think it does. And even contemporary references like the 126710 BLNR Pepsi, while those are quite noticeable, they still blend well with most outfits, and they won't attract too much attention if they are worn appropriately. So the Rolex model that I want to include on the loud luxury list is the Daytona. The Daytona is it's different for several reasons. Firstly, its resale value makes it an asset, just like stocks or real estate. Getting one at retail and then selling it on the gray market would net nearly a 100% return on investment, especially if you get a stainless steel model. However, and I'm serious when I say this, I do not recommend that you try and flip a Daytona on the gray market unless you are prepared to absolutely kill your relationship with your AD and get blacklisted by them. But going back to the original point here, the reason the Daytona is on the loud luxury list is because, firstly, chronographs in general look cool compared to time-only watches. Everybody's seen the time-only format with, center seconds and 2 hands, but chronographs with their subdials just look cool. People want to know the function of the subdials, and the symmetrical design of the dial on the Daytona specifically really lends to its attractiveness. It doesn't matter if you have the stainless steel, the gold, or the platinum variant. This watch is a magnet for attention and compliments. You will get complimented if you wear this watch, I guarantee it. Lastly, in today's culture, nearly every single reference of the Daytona is loved by collectors and civilians alike. Paul Newman Daytonas are extraordinarily expensive. I mean, Paul Newman's actual Daytona sold for $17.8 million at auction. Most watch collectors are aware of this fact, but for those of you who are watching that aren't really as familiar with watches, that is for real. Like, go look that up. And Paul Newman style Daytonas, can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars on their own because they look like the one that Paul Newman actually owned. And the modern references are equally loved and coveted as well. Bottom line is, if you see someone with this watch on their wrist, whether they got it from the gray market or if they got it from their authorized dealer, you know that they have money to spend and they are someone who has very, very, very good connections. I strongly believe that you should never buy a watch to impress others, and buying a watch to signal your status is a bit of a shallow pursuit in general. But I cannot deny that this watch has become a status symbol in today's culture. Showing off probably is not your intent, especially if you're watching this video. I don't believe that any of my viewers are into watches because they want to show off. But the Daytona is simply too recognizable these days to fly under the radar. Regular people, your coworkers, your boss, your girlfriend or boyfriend, and watch thieves know this watch. Everybody knows what this watch looks like, and if they don't know that it's a Daytona, they're gonna know at least that it's a Rolex and that it costs a lot of money. The final watch in the loud luxury list is Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak concept family. Pop culture has hugely strengthened the vice grip that the Royal Oak already has on the minds of those who enjoy conspicuous luxury. Future, Drake, and the Migos are all notable clients of this brand. Rest in peace to Takeoff, by the way. All you need to do is look online and see how many celebrities sport this family of watches on their wrists. All of AP's watches are, pretty recognizable, and some are slightly more conservative than others. For example, the 15510 ST variants they are fairly simple compared to other pieces in the catalog. But with that being said, they are still worth mentioning due to their high-profile nature. For example, I was leaving the gym one day and I spotted another gym member with a black dial 41mm 15510 ST on his wrist. And, I wasn't, again, just like the earlier example when I was at the bar and I spotted that Richard Mille, I was just leaving the gym. I was going about my own business and I still happened to see this watch and pick it out in public when I wasn't actively, looking at watches at all. Like, that wasn't even on my mind and it still popped out to me. Maybe that's on me. Maybe I've got a problem, but that's just what happened. But going back, I chose the concept collection as the final entry on this list, specifically because of the oversized avant-garde nature of the watches that make it up. Just like Richard Mille and Hublot, these watches really push the limit of tastefulness and design. In my opinion, you either love them or you simply can't stand them. And AP's concept collection stands apart from Vacheron Constantin and Patek Philippe in that the watches don't regard traditionalism as an important factor influencing the designs. Again, they're extremely avant-garde, they are quite innovative, and they really push the boundaries of what is generally accepted as good looking in today's watch culture. Every single watch in the concept collection is either gem set, it's made from an exotic metal or an exotic material, or it's oversized or has a wildly complicated dial layout, or a combination of all of those. The most notable example of this, in my opinion, is the 26632CN Black Suit Spider-Man edition. This watch is 14.6 millimeters thick, it's got 50 meters of water resistance, and has a 42 millimeter case diameter. It's crafted in white gold and black ceramic with web-like case engravings that emulate the look of Spider-Man's black suit. And considering the ubiquity of Spider-Man as a pop culture icon, this is a watch that was simply made to be noticed and admired. And that makes it the epitome of loud luxury. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, I want to re-emphasize that I don't own most of these watches. So nothing I said should be taken as a comprehensive review. It's on you to decide whether or not you want to buy any of these watches. It's also on you to decide what they mean to you, how you want to express yourself, and what kind of message you want to send to the world by wearing one of these. I'm not here to push you in either direction. You have to make your own choices about what you choose to buy and what you want to say to the world. If you enjoyed this video though, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Do you love or hate the watches on this list? What did I miss? And what should have been left out? Please donate to the Hawaii Salvation Army and support disaster relief efforts on the island of Maui. Lots of people have lost their homes and livelihoods because of the fires, and they could really use your help. Also, if you want your watch collection featured on my channel, submit pictures of your collection to me at my Instagram @_worn-down-crown. Lastly, if you're looking for a nice watch, consider shopping with the BEZEL app and use my code MORGANWEIBEL, no spaces, all caps, in order to get $200 off your first purchase when you shop with BEZEL. Thank you very much, and take care.